welcome to another edition of White Light Broadcasting. Today we're here with one of our mediums, and he is going to share a little bit with us about what brought him into being a medium.
Oh, hello. I go by Carlos the Medium here at Joy of Being and in my own circles. So mediumship, interesting. So what is a medium? A medium is someone that is highly sensitive to the spirit world. They're highly sensitive to vibrations, energy. It just doesn't have to be energy of spirits, but also people's energies, and they can pick up easily, and they do it through different senses. The primary senses are feeling, seeing, and hearing. So clairsentience, clairvoyance, and clairaudience, respectively, in that order, as I said before. And you use your various senses to pick up on the subtle energies of spirit. It's not something that just people a lot of times confuse communicating with spirit as a experience that you would see in a Hollywood movie, and it's not the case. It's very, very, very subtle energy. It's not a tap on the wall, but it can be. But it's, you're picking up the energies, and you start saying, well, how do I feel? Do I feel happy, energetic, sad, depressed, lively? And then you start seeing who they would have been. Either does it feel like a male or a female? Do you see a male or a female in your mind? Do you, do you hear a name associated with this energy?
It's like a lot of interpreting. Oh,
go ahead.
I'm Ash, by the way. I'm here too.
So you're picking up all these various energies, and you want to single out the energy and then just start picking up more on that vibration. So that's where the difficulty comes in with doing mediumship, because you have all these different energies that are perhaps in that same space, and you have to single them out and then just keep building on that energy. So another thing is that a lot of messages and readings, you may only get a tidbit from these different spirits, because they cross over on the other side does not mean that they are master communicators. So you may only get tidbits from them. You may get that they are a male and that they passed and maybe been through like a heart attack, and you may get that they're middle aged, and that's about it. You're not getting the name. You're not getting what the profession was. You're not getting the relationship perhaps to the person that you're giving the message to. So it's I find that mediumship is like an interpreter of energies and a communicator of relaying what you're interpreting and receiving.
Yeah.
So
I think a lot of people think that when you're a medium, you can just
talk to a ghost.
Like talk to a ghost the way that you talk, like we're talking right now.
Right.
Where it's like, in my experience as well, it's usually not quite that, solid.
It's not that forward.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I also find, and I don't know if you would agree with this, what I found as I've always been a medium since I was a child. It just happens. I didn't. I never asked for it.
Right.
So, and the first time I really started to realize that I wasn't alone or wasn't a weirdo was when I saw the movie I See Dead People. And I literally cried. I was like, oh my God, I'm not the only one. So, but anyway, the one thing I often see is that I feel like when people pass, it's like it doesn't even seem to be a set amount of time, but I think they do something what I've kind of started to term processing, where it's like they almost go through stages, and sometimes I almost think maybe it's like purgatory or something in Catholicism, where they're figuring everything out, or maybe having to review something that they didn't do right or something like that. Because I've noticed that some people, they stay very human-like for a long time, but some people, they process fast, and they're like right away, it's like they become more angelic, like more wise, if you will.
Yeah, I wonder if that's kind of like you know how like they'll like classify different like types of spirit activity, like there's residual, and then there's like stuff that gets moved around like poltergeist or whatever, you know, like, and then I forget like the intelligent one is like one where they're like communicating and they know what they are and that kind of thing. So like I wonder if that's just like the kind of like the same thing, you're just picking up at the different like levels of like what they've gone through, or like what you said, maybe like a purgatory type.
I don't know, but
maybe they come
for a
through.
while I just kept saying they're processing. It's as if like, you know,
your ghost has been downloaded.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like, and the funny thing is, I've seen ghosts and I'm like, well, you know, like for example, if we go out towards Shenandoah, there's a lot of Civil War people there, and they're still there, and it's like, and then and I've talked to them before, and I would, you know, think like, well, why are you still here? You know, do you realize that was like 150 years ago or 200 years ago? And it's like they always come back and say time has no meaning here.
Right.
And I'm always like, well, what does that mean? But I started to notice that some people, like, they get stuck in that processing, if you will, for even hundreds of years. Whereas other people I've seen, and one thing where I saw it more firsthand was when my grandfather passed. At first he was more discombobulated and more like himself when I knew him. And yet after several years, it was like all of a sudden, and he actually told me at one point, because I said, did this really happen? And he actually said, like, I don't remember anymore. And I could tell he was telling the truth, like, because it's gone now.
Right.
And I think, and that's when the word purgatory came to me. It's almost like, man, was he like processing like maybe his sins or something all this time, and now you like things that he was guilty of as a person are gone or something. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on that?
So I didn't answer the first question. So how did I come into mediumship? I didn't really.
I'm sorry.
No, I know. I skipped over it. But basically, I didn't know I had this ability. In my 20s, I experienced some chronic health issues, which lingered and lasted a while, which led to other doors and opportunities. And when I came to a low point in my life, I sought outside help outside the conventional medical community because I was experiencing a lot of stomach issues. And when I did, I came across these very gifted mediums, but I was very skeptical. And what they told me was that I had a gift, and that this gift was my calling. And the reasons I had gone through what I had gone through most of my life, especially in my 20s, was to bring me into this work and to have compassion and empathy for others. That's what I was cultivating during those years. So as I listened, I thought, well, what's next? And they said, start doing the work. And I was still skeptical, but what brought me a lot of initiative was the fact that they were very accurate with my loved ones, the names and the relationships, and a lot of things I hadn't shared with anyone. And they were very good. And, you know, the next thing you know, I started doing readings, and I started out with just cards, and from there on, it just kind of grew. And I didn't expect it to grow so fast.
But it's your calling. It's like it was predestined.
Yeah, yeah. And
yeah.
So that's how I got here, and that's how I'm here today.
That's interesting because, like for me, like I wouldn't say I was always spiritual like I am now. Like I definitely went through like my own little midlife crisis, I guess, as when I was like 18.
Right.
But you know, like I did go through like you're finding yourself at that age, and I was kind of like doubting and I didn't really know who I was, I guess. I hadn't been like really thinking about it, I guess.
Right.
And then spirituality just found its way into my life, and it wasn't even the same as it is now. Like I was just kind of like, crystals are cool, that's interesting that they have intentions and whatever, but I didn't really know how to put it into action. And now it's like it's changed my life. It's like it's made me mature, it's made me more open to people. Like I understand things on deeper levels now. Not to say that I'm like a genius or anything, but I do like have a more understanding of myself and like my place in the world, kind of a thing. And I feel like it was what I was like a missing piece. Like it was something that I was always supposed to come to, because now I'm more of a complete me, and it was good for me, and it like healed whatever like problems I was having, like if emotional problems or anything. Like I'm much more of a well-balanced person. So I think it is like, it's kind of like in your stars, like whatever your talents are or something. that kind of a thing.
Yeah. Very cool.
I will say this though, mediumship, psychic abilities, healing, teaching, in this work, if it's meant to be, you don't have to seek it. It will find you.
That's
Amen.
interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
No one in my family was into this stuff.
Right.
It just like, I don't even know how I came across it actually.
Yeah.
Like picked up a book or something.
Right.
Yeah. I was never out of the closet, if you will. Like, I just kept it always to myself. For me, what brought me out was, well, first I started doing Reiki, but that wasn't even what brought me out. It was, I had a friend and she said, you know, you really, because she would always have a lot of people around her. Mm-hmm. And so one day, I just started telling her what was it was because her daughter was having all these problems.
Right.
And her daughter she was like, my daughter's always seeing people. My daughter's always and so that made me compelled to tell her that I had experienced that. Your daughter's not crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and so I started talking to her and she's like, well, we need to find out what you are or what you do. That's how much in the hole I was.
Right.
I didn't even know what to call it.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? I was just totally like wall, you know.
That's crazy. And now look at where you are with it. Like,
right.
And so I started doing a little bit of research and then I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have this
That's
clear
me.
and this clear and this clear and this like there wasn't one that I didn't do.
yeah.
Right.
So and I was just really impressed, but I still really doubted myself. And I'll never forget the first ghost when I intentionally decided, okay, I'm going to talk to them. And I was like going, okay. And so I started watching The Ghost Whisperer and that show Medium.
Yeah.
And so then I said, well, it must be like they're thinking the thoughts and pushing them out and then they're getting the answers back. Like somehow
it's like they're playing Pictionary.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I did that, and then this guy came, and I was like, okay, who are you? It was funny because I had no idea, but he gave me a specific name, a specific time, a specific place, something that I had no knowledge of at all. And I looked, and then he told me how he died and who killed him. And I looked it up, and sure enough, like all these people existed. I was just like, you know.
And that's when you start to rethink, maybe this is a thing.
Yeah, because I knew for sure that I did not know this information.
Right.
And so then I started doing it more and more. Oh, and that's when I started helping people cross over. Mm-hmm. And it was funny because I was like, okay, in Ghost Whisperer, she has to go resolve the problem and then the person crosses over. Okay, so this guy died 150 years ago, so how do I resolve his problem? And I couldn't figure it out. And he kept coming to me. And I'm like, I don't know how to help you. Like, nobody's alive anymore. Right. You know, you died a long time ago. But he kept bugging me. And so finally, I started an anonymous blog because I was really in the closet. So I started this anonymous blog, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to put his story out there, whether anybody gets it or not. And from the time I typed it, he went away.
Wow.
Interesting.
And I was like, wow, okay.
He just needed it to be shared or something.
I guess so. But somehow the energy of getting it out there for him somehow helped him. And after that, I kept getting more and more people coming in. Right. And so I had this blog for a while where I would just write everybody's story.
That's pretty cool. That's a good way to, like, I guess, like, get better at, like, more, like, quick about it.
And I learned a lot like that.
Right.
I learned a lot about all these different people and what they did and who they were. And then I started realizing that my counseling skills came in really handy because they're still human. They still need the same kind of processes.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't talk to ghosts, but I've had, like, ghosts around me, I think, like, I think everyone does.
Yeah.
And, like, there's different levels of sensitivity. I think energies are just attracted to you, I guess is what I would consider. So, I don't, like, they don't tell me things like you guys. I can kind of just know when they're there. Like, you know the feeling you get when there's a presence. It's pretty, and I've gotten... It used to freak me out really bad because especially if you're like in your room at night and all of a sudden you're like, I'm totally not alone. That was the worst, and you have to turn on TV so you feel like better. But you know, but they don't tell me things. But sometimes I feel like I feel like you do. I guess it's just I'm not as sensitive to it yet or something, or I haven't developed it the same way as you both have.
Mm-hmm.
But they do kind of try to give you, I guess, hints. But like you get flashes in your head of like ideas. But I guess I never like thought about connecting it to what I just thought they were like random thoughts coming into my head. Never thought to use it as an intuitive tool or anything, you know? So it's something that people could just develop.
I realize that people that are empaths do the same thing that mediums do.
Right.
When you connect your energy to another person that's alive, it's like you can feel what they feel.
Yeah.
You can sense what they sense. So a medium is just doing the exact same thing.
But with just the energy.
But with the energy of a person
Right.
who is no longer physically there.
Right.
But they're just getting that sense of, I can feel what they feel. Or
Right.
I can remember what they remember.
Right.
Things like that. And that's kind of how I started to realize I was doing it. It wasn't, you know, it's like your energy field just is open and they're connecting with you, if you will.
Right.
That's cool.
I will say this though. So Ashley, you're working on developing other senses. Later on and with time.
Yeah.
And this goes for everybody out there. So mediumship, I would say, the majority of the information you're going to pick up from spirit is going to come subtly from your clairsentience. So the feeling, the clear feeling. So a lot of it's going to just come out. So how do I feel about this person? Or how am I feeling with the energy in this room? You know, how do I feel? You know, because why is that? Because when spirit communicates, you got to remember that energy is energy, and visions and hearing is a lot more taxing on you than it is to feel. Because we feel
That's
naturally.
Interesting.
And we don't go walking around with our eyes closed.
So it's kind of like start off with that, those little inklings of like emotional.
Right. It's true.
It's like when you're empathist, it's like, don't you feel what other people feel?
Yeah. So, and then that helps
and
you
it's
sort of.
easier to interpret it because you know that that's a person, but you're actually doing the same thing.
Yeah, which is really, when you said that before, I was like, oh, it makes sense. And they, like how you said, they're just people that like, with your counseling skills coming in handy, like, in the empath senses, that's such an interesting way to explain it. So yeah, that makes sense. So if I did want to develop that further with any other thing, I would just focus. You're saying like focus on the emotional sort of thing that
the
they're
feelings,
like what I feel,
right?
And that's when you'll start. I think that vibrated the microphone.
I believe it did.
But
it's my phone.
But that's interesting. So that's something because I want to develop that further, just because I kept telling, and people I talk to, I'll be like, that's like my next step in my spirituality is becoming more sensitive to that. But I think there's like some part of me holding me back because I'm a little spooked sometimes, even though that stuff interests me, and I know inherently like there's nothing scary about it.
Right.
It's just, you know, like what the media portrays, it has definitely left an imprint on me, I think. So there's a little hurdle I need to get over before I properly can start to work through that and get good at it. Because I think it's like a blockage of any energy that I've kind of created in my mind that just like, I just need to get past it.
Right.
I don't know. Because I know it's the next step to just, I don't know.
Well, mediumship is governed by the law of vibration.
Mm-hmm.
That everything has a vibration
and a frequency.
Yeah, and a frequency to it. So you are the instrument. You are the antenna.
Right.
So you have to be able to pick up those vibrations. But there's also another law that comes into hand with this is the law of attraction. The law of attraction is you don't attract what you want. You attract who you are. So if you are a confident instrument. If you are a confident apparatus instrument antenna, then you will attract stronger energies.
Yeah, and that's interesting.
Right, and one more tidbit real quick. And if you are energized, so if you've rested and you're not doing a million other things, and you're fully dedicated to this, your antenna is going to be stronger.
Sure.
So if you are just kind of like, I do this once every blue moon,
then it's not really.
Yeah, so you're gonna be very, very your signal that you're sending out, it's gonna be weaker. It's kind of like, you know, think of it as your.
There's not a strong communication line.
Right. Think of it as like a Wi-Fi signal. someone that's been doing this for a very long time, and this is strictly what they do, they're going to have all the strongest signal versus someone that's just started, that's unconfident, that doesn't have the confidence, that is doubting themselves, is going to probably produce a very weak signal, and like attracts like.
Yeah. So. And that's like attracts like is interesting because, like people, I feel like spirits are attracted to just energies. They like similar energies or energies. So like very negative people will have, like I have a friend and he's just really into spooky dark stuff, and he's not like a bad person or anything, but that's just, he's just like, he likes creepy stuff, and he's kind of like a dark personality, and he always has dark spiritual people like attacking him and around. And it's so important to like surround yourself with like good energy and light so that you're safe from that kind of stuff. That's really interesting. So but
I know Carlos has to go,
I was
so we
about
need
to say.
to wrap this up. But I just wanted to bring up one little question more. You mentioned how you need to be well rested. Another thing that I found, and I've heard this from a lot of other people as well, you also need to eat right. Processed food kind of shuts down the antenna.
Oh yeah, blockages or something. Like I get
alcohol, that.
Oh, as far as eating, diet, I would say definitely don't come impaired. No alcohol or any, prohibited illegal drugs. But I think where diet comes in is balance. You know what I mean?
Healthy. You're a healthy body. You're a healthy tool of communication.
Right.
Exactly.
Balance is the key. Not saying don't eat this, but don't overeat.
Oh yeah, I'm still gonna eat potato chips, guys. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. You need,
I eat potato chips.
You need balance. So I mean, that's the key. I mean, because I've met mediums that are very unhealthy,
and they're still good.
They're still good, but they also have health issues as a result of what they choose to eat and stuff. Yeah. And then I've met mediums that are extremely healthy, and their mediumship is they're still learning. Yeah. And it's not something that, you can just, how do you put it? It's something you need to develop. Yeah. And it comes with practice and confidence and just
trusting your instinct.
Trusting what you're receiving and relaying. Where you'll see the biggest growth in your mediumship is when you start giving out, when you start giving evidence or information that is beyond your comfort zone, where you're not afraid to tell something.
Be honest what you're hearing.
Right. So if you like, for example, real quick, there was a circle here a few months ago, and for one of the ladies, I told her her father was bringing through something about a bunny, an Easter bunny. And it was just childish. And everybody kind of looked at me funny, and I was like, whatever. I don't care. And I just kept going. I said, yeah, something about Easter bunny, something about bunny. With did your father give you a bunny when you were a little kid? And then she goes, no, what happened was that she started like kind of crying a little bit. She goes, when I was little, during Easter, my father gave me a chocolate Easter bunny, and it melted or something like that. So all throughout my life, he teased me, called me bunny.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So it's like they give when you're, especially if you're like communicating between, like you're the communicator, like the translator kind of. Right. It's like they'll give you enough for that person to understand. Right. And it's up to you to just.
Correct. So, right. So in other words, mediumship is not for the message. Is not for the medium. Right. It's for the person. So the medium is not supposed to involve his ego into that message. He's supposed to just receive, deliver. Now, mind you, sometimes when you do deliver, the person doesn't understand. Yeah. That's okay, because they can take that information and
maybe it'll make sense later.
Absolutely. Like 6 months later, they'll be like, hey, yeah, you did have a Uncle Joe, and we didn't. Oh, yeah, but Uncle Joe, he died young, and he was a tailor or something like that. Yeah, so he did sew and make suits or something like that. Yeah, you did have. I'm sorry, we never mentioned about it. And it's like, oh, that's who that guy was talking about. So we just have to be confident as mediums and stuff to what we receive, we relay, as long as it's not unethical.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things I actually learned with Carlos here. The first time he did a reading for me, he was telling me something that at the time wasn't really what I wanted to hear. Oh, you were telling me that my parents kept going, like, making praying hands.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you said they're trying to tell me something about church.
Right.
Because to you, praying
Right.
hands meant church.
Right.
But yet he came to me like a week later and he says, well, you seem like something was off, or you didn't get it, or you wanted something else. And I said, well, I thought that they were going to say, like, I'm sorry. And then he goes, oh my gosh, like, I think that, you know, he misinterpreted this praying, like, this hands. And he goes, you know, I believe that they were just trying to say that they were honoring you, or like being, you know, and it really hit me. It hit, you know, it was a great message for me personally, but as a medium myself, it hit me. It's like, perspective is everything.
Yeah.
You know, to one person, praying hands means going to church, and to another person, it can mean thank you.
Right.
Or, you know,
forgive me.
Or forgive me. Yeah. It's like, so ever since then, I've been really careful about not interpreting what
for
I'm
them,
saying.
but telling them, unless
I'm
there's
getting
a
clear
level,
message of what the interpretation is, I try not to interpret it. I say what it is.
Right.
That's very interesting. This has been, I think, a very good little podcast radio show segment.
Thank you, Carlos, for joining us.
Thank you, everybody.
And to our audience, don't forget to like us below. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you again soon.